This beat crazy.
And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is 3 minutes after 3 o'clock on the Monday afternoon. It is time for your Monday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. Plenty of places to start. Of course, I have tip-ins. I have socials to get to. I have episode titles to get to. I have the person across from me to get to, which is Alex Wright of the Las Vegas Review Journal. My guy, Alex. What's going on with you, brother?
Man, long time no see. It's been like a couple months.
Yeah, normally we
Too
see each
long.
other in the field, and I
Yeah.
feel like the fact that we haven't seen each other in the field, that's never a good sign.
No.
So we're gonna have to change that very, very quickly. So let's see how soon we can change it. How was your weekend, brother?
It's pretty good. Just sat and watched a lot of football, or detached myself also from work, and I try to enjoy some free time and get my new apartment all cleaned up and all that stuff. So yeah, I've been there about a month there. Still have a couple boxes that I need to unpack and some things I need to buy, but just took in some football and some other sports during the weekend.
Real quick, since you started there, this is not where I was planning to start, but Alex, let's start telling stories.
Okay.
So, my mom told me when I was moving out originally, she was like, "You are going to move out, and because you've lived here for the longest, right? Like for your life, you're going to run into things in your house, and you're gonna be like, oh, I don't have one of those. Like, I got to go get it in the moment."
Yeah.
Cool. So this is years ago. My cousin moves. We move into the house, and me and him, obviously, this is my cousin Darrell, who is like my brother, right? So he's in the house, and or we're in his new house or whatever, and we're like, all right, cool, great. This is beautiful. This looks the way it needs to look. He was like, let's start cleaning. I was like, I'm with it. Let's start doing a bunch of stuff. We start getting everything together. We start moving boxes. We start unpacking stuff. He starts sweeping. As soon as he starts sweeping, everything is beautiful. He sweeps the house, sweeps everything into a huge pile.
Mm.
And my family calls him TC. He was like, TC, do me a favor, grab a dustpan. We just looked at each other. He just went and grabbed the car keys. I was like, we don't have one, dog. Like, we don't own one of those. We gotta go to one of our moms to get it. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. But congratulations to you, brother. I'm gonna give you one more round of applause. Congratulations to you. We talked about it before. I think we texted about it. Next party's at your place. So just letting you know,
next,
man.
do a show at my place. Why not?
I'm down. I'm down. Pod hosted at Alex. I'm with it. But again, guys, temporarily, well, I shouldn't say temporarily, right? But for the time being, right? This show is still being shot from the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Soon to be brought to you live from Alex's living room. So
Yep.
soon to be a slight change of background. But no, in all seriousness, man, congratulations to you. That's a beautiful thing. When you told me, I get hyped when my friends tell me things like that. So yeah, man, I also have two friends this past week that got married. So shout out to Edward and shout out to Bobby and their beautiful bride. So shout out to them. Life is beautiful, gang. Like we're in a good spot. And I don't know if I said it yet. But I'm in a really goofy mood. So
Are you a goofy goober?
100%. Today, 1000%. Like it's And I don't know what it is, but it has to be because we are less than 4 hours away from the Raiders' home opener. That has to be the reason, right? Again, this is episode 54 of season 7, episode 380 in totality of the Talk That Talk radio show. Once again, I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. That is Alex over here. And then again, this show is being shot from the beautiful studio here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park. Alex, when actually we walked in at the same time, we walked in. Did you notice anything about the studio? Like nothing's moved, but it's a small, minor detail that when I walked in, I was like, okay, I haven't seen this in a while.
Does it have to do with Chloe the robot?
It doesn't, but
Okay.
every time I walk in, I do say hi to Chloe. I'm guilty of that, and Alex just saw it.
I can't think of what point me out to it. What is it?
All the shades are up.
Okay.
That's why it's as bright as it is in there.
Mm.
So when I walked in, I was like, more ideas came to mind. I was like, every time I come in here, all the shades are always down, but it's definitely September weather here in Vegas. But let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. I think I have a tip in from my mom. Let's make sure. Actually, I might switch it up, Alex.
Okay.
Because I don't know if my mom did she send me one? This is what I'll say. I'll tell a story. Why not, right? Because my mom sent some tip-ins, but I'll tell this story instead. I can admit when I'm wrong, right? At least I try to. I can admit when I'm wrong. My mom gave me something about a year ago, and I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do this, right? But I think the story behind it was a lot better than I think the story, I should say, made everything a lot better, right? So my mom is out, and my mom is like, this is again a year ago now at this point, and she's like, I got my girl something, and my mom always says that about Asia, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, okay, I can't give it to her, so like I don't know what that means, and she kind of laughs it off. She was like, nah, but it's like nothing crazy, like. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me hear what this story is, right? My mom said, I'm out, I'm shopping, whatever the case may be. She said, I see this thing and it has a particular logo. And I thought of her. I said, okay. So let me find out what this is, right? My mom is super dope. My mom found this pen. It's a little regular little pen that you write with. But it's a pink pen. It's a super girly pen.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of it, it has a Jordan 1. If anybody knows anything about the Jordan, the Jordan brand in general, I think the first 2 sneakers, I believe, are Nikes. But that first sneaker has a huge Nike logo, has a big Nike swoosh, right? When I and the shoe is pink. When I seen that, I was like, wait a minute. My mom, wherever she was, I think she might have been out of town, wherever she was, doing whatever shopping. My mom has 2 boys, by the way, and a husband. 2 boys and a husband. She has bought 1 million pair of shoes in life in that household. For my mom to see that logo and think Asia Wilson is a story in itself. First of all, like I just said before, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't even know if I can give it to her. You're absolutely right. I'm giving her that pen. Are you crazy? I thought the story behind it made it even better. Because if you give somebody the regular pen, it's like, oh, this is dope. To realize that my mom, who has 3 men in the house, not to sound like that, the first thing went through my mind when she said that, I was like, you ain't think Penny? You ain't whatever. Maybe I'm doing too much. Her favorite athlete is Kobe. So anyway, I don't have a tip in from my mom today, but I will tell that story. Shout out to my mom for that. My mom has always been a pretty good gift giver, so shout out to my mom for that. But yeah, man, let's get to it. She's in the comments now. But let's get to it, Alex. Let's get to it, man. Let's start with those aces. Let's start with those aces. The regular season yes is over, right? So Asia actually said it during the post game presser. That means the win streak technically is done. Can't add to it.
Right.
Asia in that locker room knows we're still counting
Yeah.
because they're up to 17 straight. It was a 102-77 victory over Seattle yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, last night, Sunday night.
Brother,
Mm,
brother.
mm.
I'm getting to a point to where I think it might still be up, but in my notes on Instagram, I put games for the next 8 days.
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? Actually, I've had more straight games than that because the Aviators
Right.
were on the road this past week. So all of these days, yes, are I might ask you again somewhere through the show what today is. So don't leave that out to chance, right? But big defensive performance for this group. I actually do have my notes. I was gonna try to do it without the notes, but there's a couple of things I want to highlight, right?
Yeah.
Where's my notes? So in that first quarter, the Aces racked up 4 blocks and 4 steals. 3 of those blocks were on Dominique Malonga, Seattle rookie, and 2 were by Nalissa Smith. 1 was by Asia Wilson. I saw that defensive intensity to start the game, and the interesting thing was I asked Asia maybe a month ago if whatever particular game, if that team had been the most connected that it's been all year on defense. One of the T-Mobile games, Nikias Duncan asked the same question. And then you see the Aces play what has been so far their biggest game of the year in terms of this round 1, game 1. And we very well could have asked the same question last night during the post-game presser.
Right. I mean, definitely. Me feel like this team just has an added confidence, not just with them, but some of their, role players and players coming off the bench. Right, with Dana Evans and Nalissa Smith finding her role. In the starting lineup with this team after being traded over, and then just the addition of Cheyenne Parker Tyus and just her presence that she brings just adds something to this team, defensively. And we kind of you talked so much about like last year, like when were they going to flip the switch? And we see, like you touched on the they know they're still counting these wins even though it doesn't add on to the record, because they know these are the games that are counting now. These are the biggest games of the year, obviously. So this team's got that got a different mode switch, and they got extra intensity here, and they want to they want to set the tone with their defense, and do it that way, and make things difficult for whoever they're playing, and get a big win in game 1 at home, protect home court against a Seattle team that struggled shooting the 3, and you're right, was kind of victim to some of those blocks and turnovers that the Aces had. So this looked like a typical Aces team that we've seen so many times during playoffs and in the past and in finals games and just countless regular season games. So you got a feeling that this series could be overcome Tuesday night.
I don't want to be that guy to kind of jinx something, but it kind of you kind of get the feeling that you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's interesting. You said it felt like you were almost getting feelings and flashbacks to the Aces teams of old, right? And I have something coming very, very soon with Asia and Becky, as a matter of fact. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a glimpse to it right now. I was talking to Asia about it, and I was like, well, this group had whatever issues it had prior to Becky getting here, right? Becky gets here, there's an immediate impact. I asked Asia, was it easier to kind of sit through the moments where things are bad, considering how quickly she changed the franchise when she first got here, right? And this is a question that kind of alludes to the 14-14 standing, right? Or overall standing. At what point this team was 12-13, I believe. And there actually was a point in my notes. I'm sure I can go back and look. They were, I want to say 10-11, may have been 11-12. Now I know that they were 12-13. I don't remember the last time the Aces were were under 500 3 times in a single season. And now this team has rattled off 17 straight wins and is a win away from going to the WNBA semis.
For sure. And we, we talked about them at times during the season when it looked like they were like for 14-14, some of those early games where, Becky would, call them out kind of, but you kind of expect that from Becky and the type of the competitor that she is. But there never ever seemed like we talked about this. There was a panic or a freak out with the team of not thinking they could pull this through or not thinking they could figure this out. And I think that just kind of, as we saw the past couple years winning the championship and all that, and Becky's immediate impact, that just kind of believe and trust they have in one another that they're gonna will their way to that or come up short trying. So definitely looks like things are as good as they have been for the Aces, and dating back to middle point or so, or end of last regular season when they were still winning games, but it was like, okay, there's looking more vulnerable. Looks like they're not going to three-peat, and now it looks like that we have that 2022, 2023 type of dominance and presence we see from this team.
And let's do one more comparison to last year, right? Because it feels like last year you opened the season with, I don't really know if they'll be able to do it, and then throughout the season you felt like you were trying to convince yourself the opposite way, right? Then toward the end of the year, you sat back and you was like, well, maybe this team can do that. No, okay, this team is what I thought it was, right? This year, it seems like there was a healthy optimism growing throughout the year, or at the start of the year, right? Even when things were going wrong, it was like, well, this will work out. Well, this will work out. This will work out. Toward the middle of the year, it seems like everybody, myself included, was like, oh, okay, if this team ends up a 7 or 8 seed, they're done. They have no shot. And now, myself included, I'm pretty sure everybody is looking at this group saying, I like their chances against almost anybody.
Yeah, I mean they're obviously this streak started after that massive blowout loss to Minnesota, which at the time looked like the best team, which they are still number one seed, but nothing. Things look extremely wide open in this playoffs, especially with injured Breanna Stewart and the Liberty last on Sunday after that game, and looks like the Aces, if they win, they could, if she's out, they could get a little bit more favorable matchup. They'll have home court, of course, in the second round. That'll be big for them too. But nothing seems out of the realm of possibility, right? You look at obviously what the impact Jewell Loyd's been making, and Jackie Young's been there, and Chelsea Gray's doing a little bit of everything, not scoring as much, not taking as many shots, but do assists and playing good defense, and just kind of has all the kind of recipe of, you don't want to face this team, even if a Minnesota who's could have a home court in the best of 7 series down the finals.
No, I completely agree. And here's the thing too, because we were talking about defense, right? NaLyssa Smith is somebody who I will continue to reiterate that Becky was super high on when she was an opponent. Mm-hmm. And I'm real keen on that when a coach is that complimentary of another player, because again, you like your locker room. I like that player too. I'm not saying like that, you know what I mean? I'm not saying anything other than that. And that's kind of the impression that Becky has always given me, right? She's always loved NaLyssa. The way that NaLyssa Smith started that game, I had 2 questions for Becky last night. I asked about Jewell Loyd, which we'll get to in a second. I wanted to ask about NaLyssa's energy. As long as NaLyssa Smith starts the game that way, I don't care how many points she has. I don't care if she has 3 rebounds in the first quarter, whatever the case may be, just energy-wise, About 3 minutes into the game, I was like, oh, okay. Nobody else has matched her energy. So until somebody does, she gonna be kicking all of y'all ass up and down this court. This includes her teammates. Like, as long as she's this pumped and she's this juiced, that's dangerous. That's probably the most dangerous thing that this group can have is having Alyssa Smith that's motivated, obviously healthy, right? And playing with a certain energy level that damn near can't be matched.
Right. And we always talked about that 5 spot next to Asia, like what they've had different, players, or they've, Candace Parker before injury and Kia Stokes, like what is that 5th spot? Who could fill in that kind of 5th spot? What does that sort of look like? And it got like, Alyssa Smith is someone that could do that with. You mentioned the energy she has, kind of like a complementary to Asia, and someone who's not afraid to embrace doing the dirty work and getting inside there with some other teams to help free some things out.
No, I couldn't have said it better myself. As a matter of fact, the question that I did ask Becky, right? I love this. The story writes itself, and I always say that. Right after this, we're heading into Raider news, so we're getting to some more storylines and things of that nature. But Jewel's first year in Vegas. Let's start counting down if we need to. Jewel's first year in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
She struggles, whatever the case may be. She ends up coming off the bench. The Aces make this historic run. She's a healthy part of it, right? So let's add that. First round, she sees Seattle. Again, some things kind of just write themselves, right? So just looking at it from that perspective, Jewel gets into the game. I actually have the note. Jewel gets into the game. Aces are up 6-5. Jewel goes on a 7-0 run by herself. Ultimately, it's an 11-0 run. The Aces ultimately go up by 12 points. They eventually lead by 32, I think, in the win. And everything kind of turns into what it is. I believe it was Jewel Lloyd and Dana Evans that both had three-pointers off the bench. Jackie led everybody with 4 threes. 14 made threes for this group. But my question after the game, when I asked Becky Hammond, I was like, hey, so yes, you've used Jewel as kind of like an instant microwave in moments, right? Bringing her off the bench, or since bringing her off the bench. But it looked like it was a concerted effort for the first regulation minute, maybe 2 minutes, to run everything through her. I was beyond pleasantly surprised to see Becky look at me and her eyes kind of open. She was like, that was organic. I said, dog, there's no way in hell. There's what? So that made me smile just from a basketball standpoint, because I was like, the basketball gods smiled. That's all the basketball gods did in that particular situation. They smiled on Jewel in that moment. Somebody who hasn't had a typical season, right, by Jewel Lloyd standards, and has sacrificed for this group. She gets in. One could argue that 7-0 run by Jewel Lloyd changed the complexion of the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you talked about the energy Alyssa Smith brought now, like Jewel Lloyd coming in, and you got to feel like maybe some of it are the teammates, recognizing the situation, recognizing what's going on in the game. Like, all right, let's get Jewel the ball in her hand, and let's just kind of see what happens. If she gets to her spot or something develops, let's just see what happens, just to help get her going. I think that's kind of, just another thing. I don't know how much Becky or maybe the players talk about it, but they've all played with each other for a while. They've played in big games, playoffs, All-Star, Team USA things, and there's got to be a lot of times where they trust each other, and they want to just they're kind of just let each other have the breathing room, right? It's like, all right, Jewel's gonna figure it out, Chelsea's gonna make a play, Jackie's gonna knock down some shots, Asia's gonna do her thing. That kind of sense of comfortability that it might not be going well now or the next game, but more so everyone's going to kind of figure it out, and everyone's going to make plays.
No, you absolutely said it right. I think this group, and actually this kind of goes back to, I'm going back a little bit in terms of the Jewel Lloyd point, but this goes back to something that I asked Asia after one of those late game winners from Jewel, and I was like, hey, like, how much this year has this group, yourself, however you want to put it, the storyline around Jewel has been, and again, we're in the media, so we are a part of that, right? The storyline around Jewel has been what it has been around Jewel. And by the way, complete sidebar.
Uh-huh.
Remember when I told you early in the year that everybody was pissing me off, making it seem like Jewel was 37? Everybody kept telling me, like, well, she's not the same player, well, she's older. I went back about 3 times and checked Jewel's age throughout the year. Am I missing something? Nobody has mentioned Jewel's age in the last month to me. Just wanted to add that in, right?
Mhm.
So I was asking Asia earlier this season, and this was maybe in the midst of when everything was kind of ugly. I was like, how much of a luxury has this group kind of looked at it, or yourself looked at it, as no matter what the storyline has been about Jewel, whether she's starting, whether she's coming off the bench, at the end of games, we can kind of look to our huddle and be like, we got this one. Like, and Asia kind of said it. Asia was like, no, I tell myself every day, like, I have Jewel Lloyd on my team. Like, every time she shoots it, I believe it's going in. So, yeah, late in moments, we kind of look to her like, you know, this you, right? Like, you know, this is your moment, right? And Jewel has continued to have those moments. What I find very, very interesting, for as much as we talk about those moments late in games, Jewel has had some big ones early in games. Obviously, game 1 being the most recent. Speaking of other game ones, right? Game 1 of the playoffs in the W and the NBA is always so dope. That Saturday is always amazing. But Minnesota got a big win over Golden State. It's going to be a tough uphill battle if Coach Natalie Nakase and company want to take down the top seeded Lynx. Number 3, Atlanta over number 6, Indiana 1-0. And then you had probably the matchup of the night, and not even probably, you had the matchup of the night in terms of New York and Phoenix. It's 1-0 headed back to Barclays. So it's relatively interesting. Did I get that right? I think I'm right? I watched the game and I told you everything is blurred to me now. Yeah, New York won. I'm tripping. Okay, my phone is lagging for whatever reason, but we do have Raider news to get to. Obviously, as I mentioned a second ago. Before I do that, game 2, you kind of just mentioned it a second ago. Game 2 is tomorrow from Climate Pledge Arena. A win means the Aces are moving on to the next round, and they will be awaiting the winners of Atlanta and Indiana. Oh, you had a smile on your face.
No.
Like, what news do you have?
No, I was just sharing the show post.
Hey,
yeah,
man. Shout out to socials.
Yeah.
Speaking of socials, let's go ahead and go through them, right? So we've been doing a lot of back and forth, so I like the camera work so far today. But if you guys want to see the live show, want to see the camera switch, and want to see the back and forth, the live back and forth between people like myself and Alex, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. It's pretty much the same across every platform. That would be Spotify, Apple, Facebook, Instagram. The one thing that's different is our Twitter. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. You were smiling because of my featuring.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That's why you were smiling. It hit me in the middle of me going through what I was going through, and I was like, I know exactly why you smiled. But yeah, man, let's talk a little football, or a lot of football. I think I have almost 40 minutes. The next 40 minutes will be football talk. But let's talk Raiders, man. Let's talk Raiders. Home opener. The hated Chargers are in town. The LA Chargers. I called them San Diego on the way over here.
Yeah.
And as soon as I compliment the camera work, it goes black. So there goes that. But I called them San Diego on the way over here. Somebody said before the game, before the week started, obviously, they feel like the Raiders are going to outnumber like the Charger fans. And I looked at it, and it was like, I don't think we're sniffing a Pittsburgh type situation. I looked at the person and I was like, the Chargers get outnumbered at their home field.
Yeah.
Home opener, Pete Carroll birthday. Shout out to Pete, right? Pete's birthday. The first time in 11 years that the rivalry between Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh will be renewed. And you think more Charger fans are going to be in this building tonight? Ain't no way in hell. When I tell you I think it's going to be, this might be one of the loudest I have ever heard Allegiant Stadium. That's probably why I'm so giddy today.
Yeah, I mean, so there's so much juice around the Raiders after one game, right? But the Raider fans are they've kind of been on this cycle the past couple of years of like, oh man, this coach can figure it out. First year coach, this young quarterback, this bridge guy. Now they've got Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, the proven pro in the league. The Tom Brady element of the Tom Brady ownership. He's there. I don't know if you saw his announcement. We could talk about that later.
No, you can do it now if you want to, because I don't want to spend too much time.
Okay, well,
it's gonna be dope to see. But I was like, you know how you hear like an announcement is coming, so you try not to like be too geek
Yeah.
for it. So I was like, stay cool, stay like, who knows what it could be.
Yeah,
I heard the announcement. It was like,
exactly. It's like that the dog meme of him just
it's
eyes
like,
closed, like,
bro, you got it. I was like, you got it. So you can definitely let the fans know what it is.
So apparently there's going to be some spring flag football league with Tom Brady. He's going to play in it. A bunch of pros and recently retired guys are going to play in it, and of course Fox is involved, and I think like Saudi Arabia is involved, which
Of course they are.
that's kind of interesting. But anyway, good luck to them on that. Hopefully no one tears an ACL during that one. So, but anyway, like talking about the Raider fans, they have something.
Wait, no. Hell no. You are not about to move on, sir. Hell no. Alex, what is happening in my sports?
What's that to my sports?
I'm every day I'm becoming that old guy that's shaking my fist
Off
on
my
the lawn.
lawn.
To be honest with you, I was hyped about the first half of that statement, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
By any chance, did you go and watch a little bit of the U.S. flag football team after they started saying like, "Oh, well, Lamar Jackson got a tryout," and everybody was like, "Huh?"
No, I have not watched that.
So I watched them,
Okay.
and I randomly would do it. They nice, like
Okay.
they had a reason to be kind of popping their shit a little bit. They nice. They're nice.
Mhm.
I thought the first half of that statement said whenever flag football comes to the Olympics, Brady was going to be our quarterback.
Mhm.
I was going to say, I dare any of you guys to say something. Say something. What are you going to say to him? He ain't got to run. He ain't got to get hit. Let him do it. That's what I thought the statement was. So when he got to the end of the statement, oh, okay, cool. Hope you guys have a great time. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, great for them. I thought a statement was coming in terms of like management. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, it's like,
I was
is he like full on owner? Is he?
I didn't know what was
gonna
happening.
pull a Jerry? Is he like what's gonna happen there? But
now that it's out, right? I told you guys before, I feel like Mark Davis is somebody who, even just being around him, if he feels like you can make the right football decision, John Gruden, right? I'll give you the keys. That's what I thought was coming. I thought Brady was gonna say, like, I'm taking over. Like, me and John are gonna like do the personnel decision making. I wouldn't have been mad at it, right? So, respectfully speaking, somebody posted a picture of Turkey Al-Sheikh next to him and was like, and I was like, here's the thing, and we'll get to it actually to close the show, right? That's why I said what's happening in my sports. Because now I look up in WWE, there's Turkey Al-Sheikh. I look up in boxing, and there's Turkey Al-Sheikh. I look up, and now I'm dealing with the Raiders, and I see Turkey Al-Sheikh. So that's why I said what's happening to my sports. But business-wise, sure, there's going to be negatives that you want to say. There's going to be positives that you want to say. For the people that just tweeted the picture and didn't really know what was coming next, or that saw the picture and didn't really know what was coming next, you can't automatically just assume it's going to be bad if you enjoyed the fight this past weekend. Right? Yeah. Like, you can feel how you feel about him personally. You can feel how you feel about him about certain business dealings, which we discussed last week, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know that we can automatically look at it sometimes and be like, oh, well, that's going to be X or that's going to be Y. I don't know. I think we might have to kind of sit that one out and see the way it turns out. So I may be trashing this flag football game right now, and it may turn out to be something a little entertaining. So I'll tell you what, this home opener is going to absolutely be entertaining. We finally get meaningful football, meaningful professional football here inside of Allegiant Stadium. 7 p.m. is your scheduled kickoff. We are 23 minutes away from the first Monday Night Football game between Tampa Bay and Houston. Alex, would you like to be led in on the conversation that I had with my dad on the way into the show?
Yeah, what's going on?
We were having a conversation and we're talking about quarterbacks and who we believe in and things of that nature, right? And CJ Stroud came up. And I said, I've had this conversation on the radio show maybe 2 or 3 times in the last month. And we're naming all these quarterbacks. And you were here one of the times. And we didn't name CJ in terms of the era of quarterback, right? I think I've said it before, but I want to make sure I put this down. We are at 36 minutes in. Let's put 15. Out of all these quarterbacks that we name of this era, and I said somebody's obviously not going to only not going to not win a Super Bowl, but somebody isn't going to make it. So people think Joe Burrow is going to eventually get back and get one, right? Somebody thinks Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson eventually going to get one. Jalen's already been to 2. Put me on record right now saying CJ is taking somebody's. I don't know how many he ends with. I don't know if he ever gets more than 1. I have CJ Stroud somewhere in his career winning a Super Bowl as a starter. If that happens, you ever seen a Butterfly Effect?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. When he wins that, somebody's timeline is completely thrown off.
Right.
I don't know how the hell we ended up here.
I don't know. But you could maybe kind of compare it to kind of maybe at the time, like Joe Burrow's when they went to the Super Bowl at the time. It's like, wow, not expecting Cincinnati to go there. We thought a lot of potential with Joe Burrow and a lot of things that we liked with there, but it's like, oh, maybe it was there, a couple years, kind of peaking a little bit early, right? Couple years before we thought they were going to go. But that's just how this game goes, right? Like you gotta get through all these different quarterbacks, and it could just kind of like we're seeing with the Aces. Someone gets on a heater, they get it figured out. They get the star, defensive end. They hit on somebody in the draft. They get the hot shot, young up and coming coordinator that schemes up something. Just one little thing goes their way. They got that spot in the Super Bowl. They knock out, maybe a weaker Chiefs team, and they get to that championship game, or there's another upset somewhere, like I don't know what it could be, like Jacksonville or the Chargers, right? And then
What about Jaden Daniels last year?
Yeah.
Nobody had them going to the NFC Championship. So there goes that.
Yeah. I mean, just we talked about the depth, especially the AFC. It's crazy with all the coaches, with all the quarterbacks and the coaches and the really good teams around them. And you never know what could happen. But yeah, that one trip it could not make Herbert and then the Chargers. They don't get that shot, or Trevor Lawrence ever gets that shot, or Bo Nix ever gets that shot.
Yeah, and every time you add a new name, I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, damn. What happens if Daniel Jones has a run? No, I'm just I'm saying that right now, and who the hell knows, right? The NFL has done kind of quirkier things. People probably said it about Eli for a little bit until Eli did what he did. The funny thing is, and we're talking about quarterback play, and we're about to get back to Raider quarterback play in 2 seconds. The nickname Indiana Jones is fire. Fire. I don't know who came up with it. I know that he is somebody who James Boyd has said publicly is like, he doesn't talk about himself. Like, he acts like he carries the water. Like, he's a quarterback that doesn't want to steal any shine from the rest of his guys. Like, super professional, right? I need Buddy to start leaning into that nickname a little more.
He's got to wear the hat, with
You
the jacket, the
wouldn't like.
pregame. He's got to do that.
I'm walking in looking like the damn video game cover. It's gonna be bad, brother.
Someone social team needs to set up Skull and just grab it and then like, whoa, where's this boulder coming from?
Hey, when I tell you, it couldn't be me. Couldn't be my nickname. Couldn't be. I'm walking into press conferences, tipping my hat. It's a wrap, brother. Couldn't happen. But speaking of quarterback play, right? In terms of Geno Smith goes out, sets a Raider record, 362 passing yards in Week 1 against New England. And now you find out he's going to get Brock Bowers, right? He's going to get Brock Bowers for tonight's game. I don't think anybody was going to keep Brock out this particular game. What are you expecting from that tandem? Are you expecting him to be kind of used more as a decoy tonight? Are you expecting Jakobi Meyers to kind of go off? We've seen Jakobi go off in divisional games like this. What are you expecting from tonight's game?
I expect them to look at one thing I'm looking forward to seeing is how Ashton Jeanty gets kind of involved after not really setting the world on fire in game 1. And you gotta have I felt like once they made the picked him so high up that he was going to be a focal point. He was going to be, even if they were going to try to give him the ball a lot of times in a way to kind of justify the pick, but also try to show off like what he could potentially do. So I expect Ashton Jeanty is going to get a decent amount of touches, especially early. I think maybe Brock could be used as a little bit of a decoy. Not sure how he's feeling. Maybe a lot of things will go into how he's warming up and all that to see what type of plays they want to get him in. I expect maybe Jeanty to get some touches in the passing game as well, and maybe that decoy vet could open up something for Michael Mayer or Jacoby Jones to try to expose the deep ball early, right? Because we saw last year with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, the inability for deep explosive plays. You got a feeling that especially early, Chip Kelly, that he's going to want to try to expose that and try to get some deep plays there with Geno and Jakobi Meyers probably.
So first of all, you said two names that I was going to mention, and I don't have to anymore necessarily. One of them I'm going to add to, but you mentioned Chip Kelly. This you just talked about it in terms. Yes, you could say quarterback play last year because that's obviously a healthy portion of it. Ask Antonio Pierce; he still believes it. I like spicy, salty Antonio Pierce. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know why more people don't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If Gerard Mayo want that feel the exact same way about Robert Kraft, I'm not too mad at it, right? Like I'm not too mad at certain instances like this. If Kevin Kruger wants to feel away about UNLV, I don't know. Depending on the way you leave, I think it's warranted. But yes, we could say quarterback play was a good portion of it last year, but there were some moments, right, where you felt like shots could have been taken. Chip Kelly's gonna take them. The second name that you said, and you probably wouldn't even guess where I'm going, but I'm going to Michael Mayer. And I continue to say, yes, UNLV played Notre Dame. Yes, I saw what Michael Mayer did. Here's the problem. None of that matters to me because everybody has told me the NFL Michael Mayer is this way. I'm extremely happy that Pete Carroll came in and he spoke about Michael Mayer this week. I'm extremely happy that Pete Carroll came in and he's kind of coincided what I've been saying. That's a good football player. We're going to find a way to put him on the field. We're going to find a way to work him in. No disrespect to Brock Bowers. Everybody was talking last year about Brock, and that's why, again, no disrespect to Jakobi Meyers, but I was like, you can kind of run a system similar to what New England ran. Once New England realized, and this is the funny part, Aaron Hernandez was the guy. They found out Gronk could play. And was like, this is why I love Bill Belichick. Throw them both out there.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens. Does anybody know the number one receiver on those teams? No. Doesn't matter. Our job was to run the football. These are our primary two pass catchers. And with all due respect, it may have been Edelman.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and have the argument of who's better? We know who's won more, but do you want to have the argument of who's a better wide receiver, Jacoby Myers or Julian Edelman? Because I'll take the Jacoby Myers side of that argument if you want me to. So I don't know that the Raiders can't work toward a system to where they run the football with Ashton Jeanty, who you just mentioned. Michael Mayer is wide this way. We have Brock lined up as a tight end. Switch it the next time out. I don't know that Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll and company aren't looking at this situation the way that I was looking at it since last year.
Right. I mean, I bet that's one thing that's enticed, Pete Carroll and everyone to bring in Chip Kelly. It's like, okay, what can he do with the guys that we have, the guys that we could draft? Where can he do to get everyone, into space to make plays, right? We saw what Brock Bowers put on tape last year, right?
Yeah.
Everything that he could do, what his potential is, and Chip Kelly's probably like, all right, maybe we could do this to get this thing up, to get the running game going. He could do this to get Michael Mayer. They could complement each other and some 2 tight end sets. Jacoby Meyer being, the top receiver, obviously he's going to do his thing, but with some of the other guys can having those 2 tight ends be 2 of the top targets on every play, just make up for them maybe not having as much depth at the wide receiver room as some other teams. There was like kind of a concern going in the year, like, hey, well, they only have Jacoby Myers as a listed receivers. Like,
Yep.
who else is going to step up? But probably you might not need to now if you could find a way to get both of them to complement each other and complement what you want to do on offense.
And you're getting tight ends now. And I said Michael Mayer lined up wide right or outright. You're seeing several tight ends be able to do it, right? Jonnu Smith is doing it. Kyle Pitts is doing it. Cole Kmet can do it. You have both Brock Bowers. You have Michael Mayer that can do it, right? So I think you are going to get to see, and this is the funny thing, Alex, we're a week into Chip Kelly's offense. Like, I think we're going to be seeing new wrinkles in the Chip Kelly. And I'm talking design wrinkles, like off-season original wrinkles. I think we're going to see them into like week 5, dog.
Yeah.
And then the interesting thing is week 12, we'll start to see probably some more wrinkles start to show. And it's the ones that he's drawn up mid-season. And I've talked a lot of shit about Chip Kelly in terms of head coaching positions, right? I don't like the way that Philly situation ended. I don't think you could pull a clip of me saying anything about Pete Carroll's brain, or excuse me, in terms of Chip Kelly's brain on the offensive side of the ball. The man's a genius. I'm excited to see what this offense looks like tonight. I do think Ashton Jeanty will be a heavy dose for this Charger defense. 7 p.m., Allegiant Stadium. I'm excited, man. Winner gets first place. Winner gets first place with Denver losing yesterday and Kansas City losing as well, falling to 0-2 for the first time under or with Pat Mahomes under center, and I believe the second time under Andy Reid since he took the job. I had to double check something, but I want to double check, make sure. But yes, but we will be seeing each other on Saturday for sure, because 9 o'clock, and this is why we have to see each other on Saturday, because that's the only way I'm guaranteed going to be up. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, dog. So we get 9 a.m. football, UNLV on the road against Miami, Ohio. Alex Orji is out for the year. Do we see Cam Frill? How much do we see Cam Frill? I told you I expect him at the very least to be on the field for at least a play, just because of what Cam Frill has meant to this program. Anthony Calandria, can he keep it going, right? What I've been paying attention to most in terms of him, completion percentage. And interestingly enough, Dan Mullen said after the last game, he said, well, I told Anthony leading into this season, in order to run the offense, you have to be at 70% completion. You have to be at 70% completions. It's something that Anthony Calandria has never done in his career, at least to this point, right? I believe the last game, he was at 77. It was, or maybe the game before that, he was at 77. It's been otherworldly in terms of his accuracy. And then one more storyline that I'm thinking about just in terms of this game. UNLV leads the nation in interceptions. And if UNLV continues at that rate, this offense is already showed glimpses that it's potent, right? I think this offense is only going to get better throughout the year. If this defense keeps forcing turnovers, I know we said the sky is the limit for this program. The sky may really be the limit for this program.
Right. We, this team is pretty much a brand new whole team aside from Jet Thomas and Marcel McDuffie on the defense there. And it was going to be what's this team going to look like? What's the Dan Mullen UNLV program going to look like? Right. We see a lot of some similar things from last year, right? Jaden Thomas getting the ball. You got a more mobile quarterback that's could make plays, right? And the defense has always kind of been a thing for UNLV, right? We remember some of those older UNLV teams where they give up a lot of points, 34 points, 40 points, and offense had to score a lot of points, right? So, looking at this UNLV defense, and you could get it to the point of Calandria making, being efficient in the passing game completion percentage. If they're getting a lot of turnovers, that could make up for that, right?
Yeah.
In a way, right? So they're getting them extra possessions. There's more times where he has opportunities to throw, or times where he doesn't need to throw. So this it's going to all come down to, as we look at the the sky the limit of the UNLV. This program has been in the Mountain West Championship game the last 2 years and hasn't closed it out, right? Like, this Mountain West seems pretty wide open. There's no Boise that's in the way. There's no, another other team that's right there. That's like, that team is the team to beat. That team's unbeatable. And if UNLV can continue to play it this way, and the other thing with it is, they haven't really necessarily played a complete game. They haven't played 4 great quarters. So if this team could start to show signs of that this week, then I think, as you mentioned, this guy could be the limit for them.
Here's the thing too, and I don't want to, and obviously I came in here and gave Paul Gunther his credit, right? In that UCLA game. Here's the thing. I still have my feelings about Paul Gunther's defense, right? The big plays. The big plays are the big plays. Going back to those turnovers, if you are getting turnovers, that may make up for the big plays as well that you give up. Now, you can't give up a 59-yard run on the 4th and 1 against Sam Houston. You can't give up back-to-back 21-yard opening drive pass plays to Idaho State. Like, those are things that you can't do. Now, does UNLV get it together in time for Mountain West play, right? One final non-conference game, which is the Miami, Ohio game. And then you open up Mountain West play. You're going into it, obviously, with a different system. At least you believed you are, right? With the loss of Alex Orji. And now, here's the thing, too. I talked to Lindy about it, right? And I haven't talked to Dan Mullen about it. Maybe I will after the game. Lindy played in, I want to say it was Oklahoma State. Lindy and the Lady Rebels played somewhere last year, right? And it was like 11 or something in the morning. And I was like, okay, it's not too crazy over there. It's probably 1. So over here it's 11. They probably can come around for it. That DePaul game last year was 9 a.m. And I asked Lindy about that. I was like, Lindy, you remember how I said she was a sicko?
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, you got a 9 a.m. tip, an 11 p.m. tip, or 11 a.m. tip. Please don't be 11 p.m. An 11 a.m. tip, 3 p.m. Like, I'm going down the list. And she was like, I know, for like as crazy as I am in terms of scheduling, I don't make the times.
Yeah.
And we had a good laugh about it. She was like, I don't want to play at 9. Like, I don't want to do it either. But it was one of those moments to where it made you realize, as much as these athletes and these coaches want to be like, well, there's no excuse, right? There's no excuse. Yes, travel comes into play, but most of these teams would tell you there's no excuse. We're equipped to play East Coast, West Coast, whatever the case may be. I'm interested to see how UNLV starts this game. I do think UNLV gets the win, right? I think UNLV's offense eventually begins to click. I think the defense does force a couple of turnovers, and they get what they need out of this game. I don't know that at the start of this game doesn't look similar to Idaho State.
Maybe that's where the bye week comes into play. It's like, hey, had an extra week off, so we get it out of our system, or we could practice earlier in the day, or do whatever we got to do to mentally prepare for that travel. But should be a interesting game. And you mentioned going into starting off Mountain West play.
Yep.
Obviously just looking at their first 4 games at Wyoming, not easy to play at. Host Air Force. Air Force is always tricky. Then you play at Boise State, and then have another week off, I think, and then you get New Mexico, which is I know we know UCLA is trending down, but I think New Mexico could be one of those games where it's like you did not expect to be down in the fourth quarter. You didn't expect this to be as close as it could be.
You almost feel like one of those games that's coming for UNLV, right?
Yeah.
Where they've played decent, but they haven't played perfect. And the other team is landing haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. Part of me felt like it was San Jose State. And the interesting thing was, too, and I told you I got this information. Somebody's texted to my phone. Somebody told me that Marcus Arroyo lost his job the night of that Hawaii game.
Yeah.
Like, the decision was set that night. Hawaii is always a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't feel like Hawaii would be necessarily the tough game this year, but the way you feel about the New Mexico game was 100% the way I feel about the San Jose State game.
Yeah.
Last year, the San Jose State game was almost it was what it was. I keep telling people, if it didn't stop raining, it did, but UNLV didn't look comfortable in that rain. UNLV didn't look comfortable in that rain at all. So don't let that happen again. But UNLV, you kind of just talked about it, coming fresh off of a bye week. I think that's probably the best thing that you've said in terms of their preparation for this 9 a.m. game. They are putting their 3-0 record on the line. I found myself walking on the field after the after the UCLA win, and in the back of my mind, I was like, 3 more. And that's the wildest thing in the world, being a UNLV grad. We're in week 2, and 3 more wins, and we're bowl eligible. And I was walking behind the band, or walking up to the band, and I was just like, yo, Will Despard is right. We are in the golden era of UNLV football.
Yeah. It's like September 6th. And it's like, man, we got basically 3 months of football left, and we're halfway to bowl eligibility.
Brother, I could have cried, dog. Like the rebel that graduated inside of me is like, this is not real life, right? The one thing that I do kind of hate, because people ask me all the time, like, well, you were in college, but you covered the team, so like you never had one of those moments, right? Like in the stands with your fan. We sucked. What difference did it make?
Yeah.
Like, what difference did it make? I wouldn't have had that much fun anyway, probably. I wish I was in school right now.
Yeah.
I wish I was in school right now. Somebody would have to cover a game for me. I'm gonna see what these stands look like real quick. But super dope to see the entire city kind of get back behind UNLV football, right? Because it felt like when Barry walked away, there was some hesitation. But I even told Harp last time I seen him, hell of a hire. I don't know how you see Harp and say anything different, to be honest with you. Alex and I were pulling you guys' leg earlier. Alex and I, if you listened to last week's show, you know damn well that Alex and I shared the sideline together on Friday for East St. Louis and Bishop Gorman. You guys know, typically we give you guys your prep breakdown on Thursdays, which makes the most sense, right? But Alex has a prep breakdown for you guys right now on this Monday. I'll give you guys a little bit of East St. Louis on the outskirts. But before I do that, shout out to you on the live. Same thing I told Sam Gordon with the LA Times. This field is extremely small, but it's not, right? What I mean is the field is relatively large, but it's almost like a padded room, dog. Like you see everybody. You be like, oh, well, you used to work for the. Oh, well, didn't you work for the NBA? everybody knows everybody. So shout out to Alex for giving my name to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Shout out to Chris over there as well. It was a pleasure. And yeah, like I said, I got a little East St. Louis news for you guys in case you guys wanted to know that. But of course, Alex got some news on undefeated Bishop Gorman. And you better mention the way Mater Dei finished that game, damn it. Because yeah, they ran out of time. That's one of them situations. They ran out of time.
They ran out of time. I mean, when you're down 33-0, you kind of don't have a lot of time. You're not giving yourself a lot of time. I was getting texts from people. I was getting mentioned to one of the Max Preps photographers on the sideline, Jenny, Ed Graney, my colleague. He's a Mater Dei alum, and he was like 28-0. And he's like,
I know he was sick.
He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, oh, they're coming back. Oh, I was interviewing the Gorman coach, Brent Browner, and I eventually asked him, and then I saw the little message pop up from Ed, MD leading. I'm like, oh my God, Mater Dei's leading. Are they going to win this game? But
that 29-point third quarter was insane.
That was wild.
It's insane.
The craziest, people talk about, the craziest thing you ever see. And a lot of it comes at the high school games. Like,
for sure.
You're just like, no way that team's going to complete that, or no way that team's going to be down. No way that team's going to lose that game. But
no way we just lost 63-0.
No way, yeah.
Not that I have Westchester PTSD or anything.
But yeah, anyway, man, Mater Dei lost. Shout out to they lost the Corona Centennial. Shout out to their coach, Matt Logan. I think he's getting close to like 300 career wins.
Shout out.
And he's been there for a long time and built them up. So, yeah, this week, this Friday night at Bishop Gorman, it's probably the biggest high school game of the year, especially for Bishop Gorman when Mater Dei comes to town and takes on Gorman, who is number 1 in the USA Today poll, and they're also number 1 in the Rivals poll. They're not number 1 in Max Preps' poll. That's St. John Bosco. They're number 1. Bosco was number 2. Gorman was number 3. Mater Dei was number 1, and Mater Dei went down. They just moved everyone up. But this is the game that Gorman's never won. They've played Mater Dei 4 times, never won twice. They were coming in twice when they played, they've come in as the defending national champs, and they couldn't get it done. So we'll see Friday night if Mater Dei has a little bit of still a hangover of that loss. We'll see how Gorman responds and how they head into this game. A lot of, in these games, your big time players, your 4 stars, your 5 stars, your D1 commits, it's gonna come down to there. It's gonna be fun to watch sort of the battle between some of Mater Dei's receivers, their top guys, and Gorman's DBs like Jet Washington, who's Kobe Bryant's nephew and committed to Oregon. So it'll be a great game. I think if you can't get out there, it's going to be a packed house for sure. But I think Max Preps YouTube page, the game's going to be streaming, I think, for free. I don't think you need a NFHS network subscription to watch it. So I think it'll be on there for people to check out.
I need parts. I know that much. If it is on there, I definitely need parts. My question to you is, does Mater Dei losing last week change? It doesn't change the goal, right? But does it change the luster at all, right? Does it take a little bit of the air out of the room, considering they won't be a matchup of undefeateds?
I think maybe on the outside it does, but I think on the inside, Gorman still has it in their mind. We've never beaten this team. We lost to this team last year at their place, and now we get them at our place. And it's kind of like something you still need to, Gorman, they feel like maybe they still need to prove to beat this team. You go back 2023 when Bishop Gorman won, that was the national champions that year. They tried to play Mater Dei. There was a lot of drama with Nevada high school football realignment that lagged on for a couple months, and it delayed when the league schedules got made, and they kind of ran out of time and they couldn't schedule that game for 2023. And the only reason Gorman moved up to number 1 was because Mater Dei lost to Bosco. So that's kind of like another thing that, maybe some people on the outside's like, well, you didn't play a Mater Dei, you didn't play a Bosco that year with your national championship. But, you know,
Whatever.
I know, right? But, these games are, hard to schedule. Like I mentioned last time, Brent Browner's like, man, I schedule teams that I think could beat us because
Yeah.
you got to play that tough schedule. But I think inside everyone that 0-4 all time against Mater Dei hangs over their head, regardless if Mater Dei was undefeated or hadn't won a game at all this year, and it's still something that Gorman has on their mind.
Well, I know it'd be at the forefront of everybody in the building's mind, right? I think that's one of the things that, like you said before, that's one of the things that I've watched Gorman win a lot, and you're absolutely right. Like bigger than just the Mater Dei game, California teams, right? And I think you talked about it last week as well. This group likes the challenge, right? And again, they just knocked off East St. Louis 35-10. I actually obviously had the East St. Louis side of it in terms of covering the Flyers. I was talking to head coach Darren Sunkett after the game, and obviously you saw the quarterback change, right? One of the more candid high school moments I've probably been a part of. He said flat out, we're not happy with that quarterback situation, so we're still trying to figure it out. Like, if you read the story over at the St. Louis Post Dispatch, they had their annual like they had one of their annual games, which was a week 2 matchup, canceled, right? They were supposed to play a team from Florida. They didn't have, I think they had their coach step down, may have gotten suspended, something of the sort. And they ultimately didn't get to play that second game. So we talked about that loss to Bergen Catholic, right? And then you have a game canceled. And I asked about that as well. And he was like, we didn't play well in week 1. We were looking forward to week 2. And we needed week 2 to get prepared for this. Like, and it kind of was what it was. But as he said before, we're 3 weeks into the season, 2 games into the year, and we don't like our quarterback situation. We're trying to figure it out. And he said they feel like they can run the football and things of that nature. And I'm trying to figure out what to say and what not to say. I asked the question of, in that second half, the Flyers ran all over the field, right? And I said, so in the second half, is that all that changed? Just your reaffirmed belief in the run game. Like, go back to running the football. If we know that we can, if we feel like we know we can run the football, part of me wanted to ask, so why were you flinging the football around in the air in the first half then? Because the game wasn't out of hand until it was out of hand. The game wasn't out of hand until late in the third quarter. And like I told him too, those 2 deep post plays were on 3rd and shorts. Not just like that, but you lose 35-10, but game felt like you were in striking distance early in that third quarter. So I asked the question about, is that kind of what changed in the second half, just the belief in the run game? And he said, yeah. I'm on the sideline, right? And this is why I love high school football. There were several people, both on the sidelines and in the stands, that were like, why aren't we running the football? And obviously, this is what typically happens. I cover a team and then I just kind of keep an eye on them throughout the year just to kind of see what happens. They end the year against IMG Academy. This schedule doesn't necessarily get easier for them, right? They are headed back home to take on an 0-2 Alton team this weekend. So they're headed back to Illinois, I should say. I think they're at Alton. But I'm excited to see what this group ends up doing. But sitting at 0-2, not necessarily knowing who your quarterback is, doesn't look like Darren Sunkett and company is in a good spot. I guess it's real easy to be envious of Gorman, I would assume, right?
Yeah. A lot of people feel that. A lot of people feel that way.
Speaking of, let's do this really quick because we have baseball news. We have the boxing match to get to really quick, and we'll get out of here. But I have this tip in, or not this tip in. Excuse me. I have this apology. I guess you could say. Did you see this Ken Rosenthal video?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've never met Ken Rosenthal, and I'm a firm believer that what people say about you doesn't mean it is true, right, about you. However, what I always say is going back to what my mom always taught me, everybody can't be the problem, right? So if you guys are unfamiliar, there was a video going around of Ken Rosenthal trying to do a post-game interview after a walk-off in Milwaukee, and tries to get out of the way of the Gatorade bath, the water bath. I think it was pretty sure it was Gatorade this time. And he knocks over a photographer. And he almost looks at the photographer like, how dare you be in my way? Now, again, I've never met Ken Rosenthal. I don't know him. I watched so many people come out and say, this is who he truly is when the camera isn't on him. I seen somebody say, and then he cuts on that fake ass smile. I seen somebody say, I thought this was well known in the field that Ken is not a nice person. I don't know Ken. Like, I'm going to continue to say this the third time I didn't say that. I don't know him, right? Let's take the video that we saw, the large accounts from people in the field, and let's add them to this apology video that I'm getting ready to, or this video, but this apology audio I'm getting ready to play really quick. I'm going to pause it throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
My internet is trying to trip, and we gonna find a way to play this.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you. I'll switch phones, damn it. We'll figure this out. I really think I may have to switch phones really quick.
Man. Whoa.
Because this is not running, and I'm gonna play this.
About what happened Saturday night when I accidentally bowled over Scott Paulus.
All right, I'm gonna pause it already because I already don't like the way this shit started. Alex, if something is an accident, what's your immediate response?
Sorry. Come off.
Did you see anything in Ken Rosenthal's behavior immediately after bowling over that photographer that made you believe that he felt like he was in the wrong?
No.
That's number one.
Brewers team photographer while I was getting out of the way of the Brewers. I want to talk about what happened Saturday night when I accidentally bowled over Scott Paulus, the Brewers team photographer, while I was getting out of the way.
Keep him stumbling over his name in the back of your mind. Keep that.
Way of the Brewers dumping water on Andrew Monasterio. Now, the ever-observant AJ Pierzynski joked.
Pause. Don't you hear spice in the ever-observant? That sounds a lot like nobody would have known if AJ Pierzynski didn't say X, Y, and Z. Still trying to move the goalposts of accountability. By the way, we are 16 seconds in and I ain't heard sorry yet. The video shouldn't even be 16 seconds. It should be addressing the video. Hey, this video came out. My apologies. I told him. I'm sorry. Alex, there's still 1 minute and 20 seconds left.
That I looked like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. Now, AJ, of course, is more experienced in these kinds of interactions than I am.
Another shot.
And I must admit, though, when I looked at the video, when I saw this, I was surprised at how upset I appeared. I was more confused than anything.
Appeared. He was upset at how upset he appeared. Ken, you were pissed off. You were beyond pissed. Matter of fact, I have a photographer in my name or in my mind right now whose name I nearly said, but I remember being at the first Aces Media Day. the first Aces championship parade. A well-known photographer here in Vegas. We're in the front. We're in the pit. We're right there in the front. Just doing a bunch of unnecessary bumping and pushing and shoving. Dog, we're all going to get the shot. Matter of fact, everybody's shot will be perfectly fine if you stop doing the fuck shit. And this is a well-known photographer. But you're not going to fuck my photographer shot up because you feel like somebody is supposed to kowtow to you. We're in this same damn pit. Figure it out, buddy. Let's get back to it.
I had to continue the interview. We were live, folks, on national television. Couldn't stop. And that said, I felt awful about what happened. And afterward, I went up to Scott, who I've worked with in pits before over the years, and I apologized. And I apologized profusely because, let's face it, I don't think that you ever expect knocking someone down is going to happen in any particular situation. So, yeah.
I'm only going to stop it one more time after this because we only got 17 seconds left. But he said we were live, right? We can't stop. Like, I got to go back and do this interview. In the 4-second evil glare that you gave him, all it takes is 2 seconds to be like, you never extended a hand to help him up, which was the first thing I noticed. You looked at him like he was wrong. Ken, you also shrugged. When he missed the shot, you looked at him and went. So again, Ken, I don't know you. You know a conclusion I've come to already?
I apologized, and Fox is doing the American League playoffs this year, so I won't see the Brewers again unless it's the World Series. But if I do see the Brewers in the World Series, I look forward to working with Scott again in the photo pit, and I also look forward to sharing a good laugh with him over this.
You want to know why? You want to know why I called BS on this last part? Remember how I said keep in mind that he stumbled over that man's name in the beginning? Mm-hmm. I want to give this man the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to open with the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say that he was nervous. The situation, I didn't think it would get as big as it did. Cool. I'm with you, Ken Rosenthal. But let's say it's not. Okay? So you stumble over the man's name. But about a minute later, you tell us, yeah, me and Scott, when I apologized to him, who I've worked with for years in these photo pits. So you have that relationship with him, right? You've worked with him for years. Here's why I'm calling BS on it. You said the next time you see him, you look forward to sharing a laugh with him. But you just said you apologized to him when you finished the post-game interview. Wouldn't the laugh be shared then? People talk sometime and think that we aren't supposed to deduce certain things. Why would you need to laugh about it now? I thought you already talked to him. Why would the Brewers need to get to the playoffs, or why would the Brewers need to get to the World Series before you see him again and that's the next interaction? I hate to be this guy. I would love for the Brewers team photographer to come out and verify this story. I don't know if it ever will happen, but I'm pretty sure I got a pretty succinct idea of who Ken Rosenthal is.
Yeah, I mean, just
that was a whole lot of hot air.
Yeah, I mean, also like
that shit pissed me off.
Also, just like seeing like oh my, addressing it on my pod, like that's another thing too, right? And you mentioned that in the moment, not even extending a hand. I know like sometimes people maybe can't control or don't think about their facial expression, and maybe Ken's like, oh man, I got wet, or my TV stuff got wet, and like the least you could do is like, he's like, oh, the interview's delayed, it's live TV, it's already delayed, like they just dumped water on this guy, like you would try to give a hand and be like, you okay, or like just say something real quick to him in that moment. And yeah, I mean, in this field, someone kind of talked to me about this one time. In this field, everyone kind of has, you know, a little bit of an ego in a sense
100%.
that, you have to like carry yourself and act a certain way, especially when you get into these big press rooms and these uh big time sporting events. But
100%.
so and sometimes, the being on the camera, being the lead reporter on Fox and World Series coverage and all that. And does that do you let that affect how you kind of treat other people? So
Yeah, and we see it daily, right? We
mm,
see it out here. We see it just across sports as a whole, like you just said. This is one thing I'll say, and I don't think that Ken Rosenthal needs to hear this from me, but I will go ahead and let him know anyway. One of the few things that I was taught early on in this game by my OGs, always assume a camera is watching you. I don't think Ken Rosenthal needs to hear that from me. I remember being at Summer League one time. And I forgot who I was talking to. I was talking to Rich Paul, and I was talking like this, right? And I'm big for that. Whenever I'm in it, I do it to you whenever we're in the gym, especially because the things I say to Alex, I can never let you guys know. But I'm big for either using my shirt or talking like this. Somebody saw me on TV and was like, text me and was like, "Look at you, like covering your mouth, like saying, acting like you saying something important." Like I told them, "Now you know the funny part? What did I say?" And they was like, "Well, obviously, I don't know that it served the purpose."
yeah.
You don't know what I was talking about. It doesn't matter. I assume cameras are not to sound like that, but I went to Westchester High School, and we talk about it all the time. We talk about the national attention that Bishop Gorman gets in terms of football out here. Westchester was the same way in terms of basketball in California. So I learned at an early age. I told you before in high school, I didn't know how to separate cheering and not cheering. So seeing myself on TV cheering during a game that I'm covering, that's when I was told. Assume that there's always a camera around. Oh. I was 16 when I learned that fact. Again, Ken Rosenthal didn't need to hear it from me. A little over 30 more minutes left in the show. That really pissed me off. Sincerely. I think what happens is too, like, and that's what it is. And this is not about him per se, but this is the microcosm of sports. And this is why we created the company that we created here at the Talk That Talk Media Company. I I'll say this. I'll say this. Whatever. It is what it is. Anybody who has ever asked me what makes this company different, and I've told this to people that fit this bill. What makes this company different? This company has stories, coverage, podcasts, radio shows, whatever, from a certain perspective. As a lover of sports, I've been given sports my entire life. All the stories that I've read, all the books that I've read, 90% of them come from one perspective: the older white male, the middle aged white male. I refuse to believe that because you've been covering the sport longer, that you're any different from me in my coverage. Respectfully speaking, like I said before, this wasn't about Ken Rosenthal, but these are the feelings, the vibe, the attitude. That's what it gives off. Real quick, Alex, without telling you anything, without telling you who it is, you want to guess what description that photographer that I just told you about at the Aces game? You want to guess what he fits?
Older white male.
And I think me saying something with the rest of photographers around, now you got a choice. You either double down on being a dick, or you just relax, bro. That Ken Rosenthal thing, again, is a bigger story in sports. and behind the camera. But yeah, man, I got baseball news. You guys know how I feel about it. We are headed toward the end of September, so we're headed toward meaningful baseball, right? Good, because the Aviators they're not as down bad as they were in July. I think they were 10 games under 500, I think. In July, they were Alex, what were they? They were 7-17, I think. I think I misquoted it before and said they were 6-17. But this group isn't. I don't know why somebody's calling me right now. But this group is most recently coming off of a week. It was a road week, their final road series of the year. They lost 4 of 6 games on the road to the hated Reno Aces. Here's the reason why I'm not going to freak out, right? At this point, and I know this is going to sound nuts, it's not results driven at this point. This team is going to be in the playoffs 8 days from now. Fran Reardon is trying to get guys comfortable at first base. I can't wait to talk to Fran Reardon tomorrow about guys that can't seem to close games. A problem that this team hasn't had all year. And then the calendar hits September, and all of a sudden you can't close the door. This is the worst time to have that happen. And then let's add to the fact, the third reason why I'm not necessarily too stressed out about this, or a reason why I'm not too stressed out about this. As it presently stands, Tacoma's 45-24. So they're 5 games up on the closest team, which would be Round Rock sitting at 40-29. And then you have El Paso at 39-29, just behind Round Rock. If they're 5 games over 5, or excuse me, if they're 5 games, ahead of Round Rock, the magic number should be 2. If I recall correctly, the magic number should be 2 for Tacoma. We could have our answer as early as Wednesday night in terms, actually, we could have our answer as early as tomorrow night. If Tacoma gets a victory and Round Rock loses, the PCL has their matchup in terms of their side of the bracket. It would be Las Vegas and Tacoma. And that's the reason why I'm not too stressed, right? This is not a knock on Tacoma, but 2 major things can come of this. The Seattle Mariners have made a run, right? And now they're atop of the AL West, but there's still, I believe, 4 more series to play before playoff baseball starts at the major league level. So that Tacoma team can change a couple of more times before next week. Add to the fact that even in this up and down season, literally one half was all the way up, the second half has been more trending down in moments. Tacoma and Las Vegas met 18 times this year, and Vegas has 14 victories. I don't know that Fran Reardon might not be focused a little bit more on cohesiveness rather than focused on who the possible opposition may be.
Right. I'm just you mentioned figuring out like guys who's going to play first base, getting guys.
Still crazy.
That's wild to me. Yeah, that getting guys first base experience. I was listening to the radio this morning. Don Logan was on, and you kind of talked about the ups and downs of AAA baseball. A lot of those guys that helped them win the first half, they're up at the big leagues, and some of those guys will never see AAA baseball ever again. So, you got a feeling that this next month or this next week, the rest of this week, just getting this, still finding tune some things and just trying to get this group in a good mindset, good focus at the task at hand. I think being at home is gonna help, so don't have to travel or anything. But like we've talked about so much, you got a good feeling in Fran that he's gonna have a good plan out, and he's gonna get everyone ready and focused for these playoff games next week.
I have questions about the rotation. I have questions about if it's a 3-game series, right? So you shorten the rotation. So do you move one of those rotation guys to the back end of the bullpen since you're having a hard time closing games? Like, I I don't know. But now that pitcher doesn't have any wiggle room, right? So what happens if a pitcher like it doesn't even matter. It almost said a name. It doesn't matter. That could have been bad. But no, in all seriousness, I feel like this last week, I'm trying to figure out if there has to be like a set number. If they split, I don't know if it matters. If they win, sure. I feel like they have to win the season finale. I feel like they have to win on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they have to get a couple of saves in this series or shut the door, right, without letting any eighth or ninth inning runs occur. This group has had, honestly, this group is sitting at 31 and 38 in the second half, which wouldn't be the worst considering the way that this second half has gone, right? Like some of these games have been well within the Aviators' well within the Aviators' grasp, and somehow they've slipped away. This final home series is a 6-game series against Salt Lake of the LA Angels organization, of the LA Angels AAA affiliate. First pitch is tomorrow, 6:35 from Las Vegas Ballpark. Really quick, because I just mentioned the Angels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should know where I'm going with this. I told you guys it was going to happen. I told you guys maybe 3 months ago it was going to happen. The Athletics are no longer the last place team in the AL West. That title, my beautiful people, belongs to the LA Angels. And I told you guys, I don't know how much more frustrated I can be with my childhood franchise, considering I'm already at a point where I say, A, sell the team. This isn't optional. This is going to be a select D, all the above type of situation. But A, sell the team. B, move the team. C, restructure the entire roster. And or D, all of the above. The answer is D. I'm watching a franchise, and I said this before, I'm watching a franchise that the A's have gone from playoff team to us doing worse record watch to the Athletics being back on the way up before the Angels sniff the postseason. I said that was going to be more alarming than anything. This group going out there and being worse than the team that everybody thought was going to be the worst team in the AOS, right? And I've highlighted that. This hasn't been an easy run for Mark Kotsay, not to say the least. He wasn't put in a position to be successful to begin with. Mark goes out and shocks everybody last year. This year starts disastrous to the point to where I feel like Mark Kotsay is going to lose his job at the end of the year. We hit the All-Star break. This team is a completely different team on the back end of the All-Star break. Lawrence Butler is the first 2020 guy for this franchise since Coco Crisp did it. Nick Kurtz just launched the longest home run of the season at 437 feet. It just so happened to be a grand slam. The Athletics may be housing the Rookie of the Year right now, after already having Jacob Wilson do what he did to start the year. We're at a point to where, and I've said this before, if the A's can figure out their arms, which is why the JP Sears and the Mason Miller trade is, you got me. If the A's can figure out their arms, they've got the lineup figured out. I said the A's could not come here to Vegas if they don't have anything to sell. They got something to sell.
Definitely. I mean, we talked about this whole kind of years in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like, for lack of a better term, an experiment to see who you like, who you think could develop and prosper and to be and to be stars when you come to Vegas, because they come here and they're coming off a 100-loss season. They'll be buzzed that first year just to go to the ballpark and see what it's like, but there's not going to be a buzz after that to watch the team. You gotta put out a winning product, as we've seen with the Golden Knights, the Aces, all these other sports teams that are here. You got to put out a winning product for people to come out 81 days out of the year to fill that stadium.
I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, the A's are in the midst of a 4-game win streak. They just most recently swept 3 games away from Cincinnati. That was when that Nick Kurtz bomb came in the form of that grand slam. As I mentioned earlier, 4 series left. Up next, they're on the road against Boston for 3 games. Ironically enough, the first part of this 4-game win streak was them taking that finale against Boston up in Sacramento. So now they're headed to Boston, hoping to continue this win streak. And it's a 3-game series. It begins tomorrow. Gonna try to make this phone call and see if we can get this person live on air. If we can get this person live on air, we will talk a little bit of the fight game, talk a little bit of this weekend. But I just mentioned them earlier in the show, and I believe we have them online. Will, can you hear us, brother? Are you on the phone with us? 1 second. Well, hold on. I don't like this. It looks like we have him on the phone, but it looks like I may not have him connected to the audio. Let's make sure we get him connected. Will, can you hear us, brother?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Despart of Sports Illustrated, the Sporting Tribune. Do I need to do all of it? No, right?
Yeah, that's ball is life. Some other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say you just sprinkle in a couple of other, highly touted mediums. But again, Will, I will be seeing you, brother, in probably about an hour, because you and I will be inside of, yes, sir. You and I will be inside of Allegiant Stadium for that 7 p.m. kickoff for the home opener between the Chargers and the Raiders. Pete Carroll's birthday. Pete and Jim rekindle this rivalry. Brock Bowers is back. What does his offense look like? Ashton Genty's home debut. So many storylines, right? So many storylines. And here I am talking about this past Saturday, because it was inside of Allegiant Stadium for a completely different reason. How did it feel to be a part of history, brother?
Amazing. It felt like probably the biggest sporting event I've ever attended, for sure, even just as a fan. It felt like a Super Bowl, like a WrestleMania, everything like that. It even felt like a Mayweather-Pacquiao from back in the day. I wasn't in the city for that, but I can imagine it. And from hearing from people who were in the city for that, that's what they made the comparison to. So I feel like that's pretty safe.
And the funny thing is, I think that's actually, let's just get to it. Let's just start there, right? You were in the building when Terrence Bud Crawford beat Saul Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision to become the first, and shout out to Clarissa Shields for clarifying it, to become the first male 3-division undisputed champ. I have my notes right here, brother, and I'm gonna be completely honest. We can go through it. We can go however you want to do it, but just your overall. I know right before the fight, you tweeted out a story that you did for Deadspin, I believe, and I did something similar. Right before the fight, I said my analysis tells me that Canelo should get this win. My heart tells me that Bud Crawford is the best in the world. I'm taking Bud.
Yeah, that was pretty much the process I went through too. But also, in a sense too, Canelo isn't the same Canelo that we saw probably since the Caleb Plant fight in 21. So I did feel confident in the sense that I knew Crawford was going to be able to go in there with speed. I knew he probably wouldn't have a problem keeping up with Canelo in terms of like his cardio, in terms of just like not getting tired, because Canelo hasn't really been an endurance fighter in the last 5 years. So my biggest worry was that he would get caught and that chin would get tested, but obviously that never happened because his defense was so good the whole fight.
And that's kind of what one of the things that I thought, right? I thought early on it was going to be a lot of guys playing cat and mouse, a lot of whiffs, a lot of blown punches. But I'll kind of interview you as I'm going through my notes, right? So just bear with me, but I'm gonna tell you literally. I have round by round notes, but I'm not gonna get to those. I'm gonna get to my overall notes. So don't laugh, but they are all over the place. First thing that went through my mind, can you possibly guess what it was?
I'm not sure. There's a lot that could be.
It absolutely could be because it has nothing to do with boxing. I realized that Mark Davis and company had lit the torch.
Yeah, that is true. That's the first non-Raiders event I can even think of. That's something you've mentioned too before.
It doesn't happen for Raider games. I mean, excuse me, it doesn't happen for UNLV games. It didn't happen for WrestleMania. I'm in the building for WrestleMania looking at the torch like the torch isn't lit. And then when all is said and done, I'm watching this event, and as the entrances are happening, I said, damn it, that torch is lit. So that was the first thing that went through my mind. But now let's get to the actual main event, right? The main attraction. Two things stood out to me. Obviously, the apparent callback with the mariachi band during Bud's entrance, right? A couple of different callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everybody is paying homage to Floyd in terms of what he did with that Oscar De La Hoya fight. But Gervonta Davis reenacted kind of something similar against Leo Santa Cruz as well. Now. Yep. Here's what was interesting to me about Bud's standalone walk, and this is where it kind of is a question for you. During that walkout, I've watched a bunch of Bud fights. During that walkout, I can't remember a moment where Bud had that long of a stretch where he walked out by himself. And it was almost like a man of the hour type feel. Yes, it was his first stadium fight. I don't know another fighter that wasn't made for the moment.
Yeah, no, that was something I noted too, how he came out by himself. And he did say all week leading up to the fight he was going to come in by himself. And I thought, he's just saving a surprise. He's going to give us the big stadium entrance. He always does, and he actually didn't. And neither did Canelo, to be fair. And Canelo is usually someone who does do those extravagant stadium entrances. If you look at the one he did at Hard Rock Stadium a few years ago, like he really puts on a show. And they were both, you could tell, just focused on the moment, focused on the fight, and not the theatrics like they may have been against a lesser opponent.
You're absolutely right, and then just in terms of the boxing itself, my takeaway was both guys stuck to the game plan. Right, as soon as the fight started, I don't know if you noticed it, but one of the first things I noticed was how hard Bud bit at Canelo's first feint, and I didn't like the feeling that I felt. I said, okay, this is not going to be good, and I know Canelo felt it as well. Right, Bud bit so hard on that first feint, and then I don't think he bit on the feint the rest of the way. And the interesting thing was when I say that both guys stuck to their game plans, it looked like Canelo had the plan to kind of, well, in terms of game plan, let me start at the beginning, right? Bud is typically a slow starter. Bud did the exact opposite in this fight. It looks like the first four rounds, I gave Bud the first three of the first 4 rounds, right? It was kind of obvious in that sense. Right when the fight hit right past the halfway point to start the 7th round, I saw Bud lean into that speed a little bit more and kind of stand his ground a little bit, right? And then you get to the championship rounds. That's where Canelo expected to turn it on, and Bud just matched him. I thought the game plan started to bleed through a little bit in the fight, more so than we've seen in any other fight, and all that spoke to, in my mind, was both of these fighters' IQs.
Oh, yeah, they weren't going to let each other get tagged too hard. And I was seeing on Twitter, like, people hating on Canelo. Canelo fought a great fight. He fought a great fight, but he just got outclassed by a better fighter. And I think if you had that fight in 6 months, you had it in a year, it would happen. The same thing would happen because it is just the better fighter at this point, regardless of weight. But you're exactly right about everything you said.
So I felt like the overall difference in this was, obviously, you kind of talked about it, Bud being faster, right? But you don't know how to duplicate that. You can't duplicate that in training until you're actually in front of the guy. And I noticed early on, Canelo was loading up. And every time Canelo loaded up, Bud would be in there just peppering him with shots. And it would be 3 or 4 quick ones, and Bud was out of there. Mm-hmm. Is that, again, kind of what you saw? And did it kind of get, again, you're in the building, did you get the feeling that Canelo was looking for that one moment to kind of take Bud's head off?
Yeah, that's how I felt. I agree with that. And I would say around like the 6th or 7th round, you kind of knew it wasn't going to come. And you kind of knew that, like, and I think it was maybe the 9th round that Bud kind of stood in the center and tagged them. And even in that like sequence, it didn't feel like Canelo was going to land one. It felt like Canelo was, or not Canelo. It felt like Crawford was entirely in control of that sequence. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think at a certain point, Canelo is known for fading in fights, and he didn't mail it in like he did in like the Bivol loss, like he did toward the end. But I mean, there was a certain point in the fight where his chances felt precarious at best.
What did you score the fight?
I had it 117, 111.
I had it 116, 112, and everybody keep asking me where was that fourth round, and I think I keep trying to like give Canelo a ghost round, but I didn't score it live in the moment, right? Like
it kind of depends what you do with the first round too. I mean, you could give it to Canelo because it was just entirely feel out, like no real shots were thrown. So
I think I gave it to Bud, considering I think I gave Canelo's first round and I gave him was the third one. For Bud, I gave him the first round because. Mainly probably because I don't typically see Bud start that way. And I think Bud coming out and pressuring Canelo early was not something I expected. So I did give him that opening round. Anything else on the fight, man? You obviously, like I said, you were in the building. You're in the building for a historic moment. And then we'll get to tonight's game, obviously.
I just say it feels like the start of a new era in boxing. It started like the start of the super fight era. I mean, I saw Eddie Hearn say on like I think maybe the Pat McAfee show, one of these radio shows, that they're going to go head to head, him and Dana, with like a promoter's kind of like a duel, like a battle. And I think that's just great. I think Vegas especially needs more super fights. Other cities need more super fights. Boxing needs big events like that get people tuned in. And obviously with all these, now the next deal where it's going to be free, maybe it'll be on CBS like UFC is. I think it's just a huge opportunity for boxing to get back into the mainstream.
And then once again, brother, I will see you in about 45 minutes or so, but we'll be inside of Allegiant Stadium for that home opener, week 2, AFC West rivalry, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith, LA Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders. What happens tonight?
I think the Chargers pull it out, but I would not be surprised to see the Raiders do it. I think this is a big statement game for them. If they win this game next week, they're going to be facing the Commanders, possibly without Jaden Daniels. So if they win this game, they could be looking at a 3-0 start. And I mean, you start 3-0, there's a very good chance you're making the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But I would say Chargers. That's what my head is thinking. But I would not be surprised if the Raiders do it.
We'll be seeing each other tonight, and we'll be comparing our predictions because I have the Raiders actually pulling it out. I think the building is flooded with Raider Nation tonight. I don't know how many Charger fans made the trip, but I do believe it's one of the loudest that we've ever heard.
I saw online it was like 86% Raiders tickets, so we'll see if that data lives up to what we see in person.
Alex, you heard me say it earlier. I said it would be somewhere between 80 and 90% all Raiders. So if 86% is the number that they're reporting in terms of tickets, it doesn't shock me. But we'll go ahead and match wits when we get there because I have the Raiders pulling it out. I think the energy in the building will be just too much. I don't know what happens the rest of the way. I told you I have the Raiders that's sitting at about 9 wins on the year. I don't know what happens the rest of the way, but I think the Raiders do open the year 2-0.
Well, let's see what happens. I'm excited.
Let's get it, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Despart. Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I got a tip in from my dad, brother, and we can get out of here.
Nice.
Let's see. My dad is back on the surprising sports facts. What did he send us today? I think he sent the 6 today. Let's see what we got. This is what these tip-ins are hilarious because they're just so random. All right. So Babe Ruth wore a cabbage leaf under his cap for good luck and to keep cool. Allegedly, he changed it every 2 innings. I know it sounds nuts. That makes a lot of sense the more I read it. Once I read the keep cool part, I was like, it probably worked. If your hat falls off during a tennis match, your opponent has the option to declare it a hindrance and redo the stroke. I'm with it. Are you not with that?
No, I mean I am, but like here's the thing. I played like tennis, so I played tennis in high school, and tennis and golf, all the kind of uppityness. Like we saw the instance with I can't remember their names, but there was a tennis when you hit a shot and it hits the net
You
and
apologize
it
for the
goes over.
point.
You have to apologize. Oh, I didn't. It's like it's this whole episode when you don't. It's like, man, like sometimes like things are out of my control, or if you have a little drop shot just over the net and you're supposed to like apologize, or like I think at golf one time, like Phil Mickelson like had a putt and it was like rolling down, and like he was like out of it. He wasn't going to win the tournament, but he like ran down to chase it back and like hit it back up so it wouldn't keep
Rolling.
going down. And everyone in the golf world was like, "Oh my god, this is the worst thing ever! Like, what are we
Bro.
doing?" So that in that aspect, like I get it, like could be an advantage, but the uppityness of tennis and golf sometimes kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Horse racing has it too.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them that's just you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Uppity is a good word. That's the operative word in there, right?
Mm.
Starting in 1990, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls never had a 3-game losing streak for 8 years.
Yeah.
I did look at that stat recently and was like, yeah, this is like these are some of like the weird numbers that I look at with Jordan that make me be like, yeah, see, this one doesn't really make sense. Oh, so this next one is cool. I think I knew this one. There are exactly 108 stitches on a baseball. We got 2 more. I don't want to read this last one or this next one.
Read it.
Yo, what the hell? Do you want to know what the first hockey puck was made of?
Do I want to know?
Mm-mm.
Is it like gonna gross me out a little bit?
If I told you that the Knights were getting ready to drop the puck, but it was frozen cow poop, what would you say?
Ooh.
I guess it doesn't melt though, right?
I guess
Like it doesn't melt though,
if it's
right?
frozen, it's just staying on the ice. Just don't let it hit me.
Oh my god! So if you lose, can you go to the locker room and be like, "We played a shitty game"?
I'm not shaking anybody's hands
At all.
Everyone's got a shower.
No, my goalie got a shower with his gear. Like, bro,
go,
get the hell.
You gotta go COVID, Lysol, cleaning.
Dad, no more of these. No more of these anymore. This last one is hilarious. Why? That's disgusting. This last one is, oh my gosh, I'm crying. The longest boxing match in history. The longest boxing match in history lasted 7 hours and 19 minutes for 110 rounds in 1893. So he did say he was sending more, so I'm waiting to see what this is.
1893.
1893. Yeah, what did I say? Oh yeah, 1893.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. What the hell? So I'm gonna read what my dad sent. The longest boxing match in history was the 110 round bout between Andy Bowen and Jack Burke on April 6, 1893 in New Orleans, which lasted 7 hours and 19 minutes. The fight, contested for the lightweight championship of the South, was declared a draw.
What? Come on, man. What are we doing?
55 to 55. Is that what we're gonna say right now? Anywho, the fight was declared a draw after neither fighter could continue due to exhaustion, with Burke suffering broken hands. So here's the fight's aftermath. I thought this was kind of interesting. Both fighters were severely battered and exhausted, obviously. Jack Burke sustained broken bones in both hands and was incapacitated for weeks. You don't say. The extreme nature of this match contributed to the eventual implementation of rule reform in boxing, including limits on the number of rounds and overall match duration. The last one is the event became legendary, showcasing the incredible stamina of the two lightweights who pushed the limits of human endurance. Shout out to those two fighters. We have more sickos in the sports world, because what the hell is that?
110 round,
Bro,
and like
a draw?
That's what I would be most mad about.
You gotta fight the judges at this point. Like, I got a couple more rounds in me. Like, you come here real quick. You come here, because I would, Alex, that wouldn't work for me, brother. That wouldn't work for me.
Oh man, 110 rounds over so broken bones in both hands. Like just like you just like are you swinging elbows at that point? Like
The problem is, what if he broke it in round 92? Like, and he just gotta keep going. Oh, by the way, I have one more stat from that. And when I tell you this stat, you're gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" The fight started April 6th at 9:15 p.m. It ended at 4:34 a.m. Imagine being locked in, just watching two guys go at it for 7 hours. Like, you guys are literally about to punch each other in the face for 7 hours. Be honest. At what hour would you get bored?
I mean, I'd probably about like hour. Once you get after midnight, you're probably tired, and it's like,
You watching them punch each other in the face for 2.5 hours? I'm not. I'm so not.
I mean, okay, well, if it was,
it'd be a regular boxing match for me.
It was 1893, and I didn't have anything else to do. No phone, no TV, no nothing. I'm there. I'm just like, oh well, let's just see what's going to happen. I might as well see this one out of here already.
I would be so drunk. Oh my god, bro! How much nicotine do you think filled the air, dog? It was so many cigars and cigarettes being smoked.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my lord! I gotta get out. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go home. I gotta get out of here.
You know the Raiders.
This is
you gotta go.
Same home, same difference. It's what it feels like, at least. Oh man. Round of applause to you guys. You guys are the dopest. You guys know that we are constantly working back here. We're constantly trying to make improvements, constantly trying to make changes. But you guys rock with us. You guys rock with us every step of the way. We appreciate you guys. We thank you guys. We love you guys. From myself, from Alex, from the people over here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park, and of course from the Talk That Talk Media Company. Until next time, gang, keep on talking.
It is be crazy.